Hey everyone, it's Nathan, and I'm going to be showing you 3 different denim flips slash DIYs, whatever you want to call it. And if you enjoy, please like and subscribe. The first one was actually these Levi 501s, and what I did with these is I dyed them, and I took in the waist a little bit. This one was definitely my favorite out of the 3 of them. They just turned out so perfect. They were exactly what I was wanting. Okay, so the first thing we're actually going to do is take off the red tab and the leather patch on the back because the dye will dye them. So we have to take them off. To dye the jeans, I filled a 5-gallon bucket halfway full with warm water, then added a cup of salt, a dash of dish soap, and half the bottle of dye. The color I used was royal blue, and I totally recommend it because it looked so good. I submerged my already wet jeans, make sure you pre-soak them, and I left them in there for 30 minutes, and I made sure to check and stir them every 5 minutes. Then rinse them with cold water and put them in the wash with no detergent. To resize the jeans, I decided to try darts, which we're basically going to make V's or backwards triangles on the back slash waist like this. Then you're going to want to do a hand stitch on this, and it's kind of complicated, but basically you go up and then over. It should look something like this, and this is what the back looks like. Then just pull and tighten it, which looks like this, and this is what the back should look like. Now just sew a basic chain stitch to secure it. Okay, that actually worked like surprisingly well to take in the waist. The only problem is, like, it's like a diaper. Yeah. Okay, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult than I thought. I think to make it not look like a diaper, what I'm gonna have to do is take off part of the pocket, do a longer V to take in more of the ass part, and then re-sew the pocket. So that's what I did, pun intended. I just seamed off the pocket and then just did the whole thing over again, just bigger. Then I sewed back on the pockets, which was so difficult. If you don't mind, I would totally recommend just using like fabric glue because it would be so much less difficult. Also, don't forget to add the red tab when you put it back on the pockets. And also, don't forget to reattach the leather patch. I think these might be the best pair of jeans like I've ever seen in my whole life. Okay. Look at these. Okay, these look so good. Like, tell me they don't. We're redoing my basement, so the trim isn't up yet. Sorry if that bothers you, but these are like the prettiest jean color I've ever seen. It kind of looks, they look a lot darker on camera, but they're like this really nice, like, blue, kind of like vintagey blue color. I really like them. The next one is these ripped jeans. I've actually never owned a pair of ripped jeans until now, so. And they're just these old Rue 21 jeans that my brother gave me. This one was definitely the easiest out of all 3 of them. So, yeah. For this next one, I realized that I do not own any ripped jeans, which is kind of weird because it's 2020. So I decided to cut these old Rue 21 jeans that were my brother's, because they're already kind of like distressed looking and dirty. I think I'm just gonna do like little tiny knee slits right here and maybe a little bit of like something else. I'm not sure yet. We will see. For this, I first tried on the jeans and marked where my knees were. You could also mark any other areas you want, but I only wanted knee rips, so after you mark them, you want to make 5 lines, the middle one being the biggest, and the 2 end ones being the smallest. I did the same on the other side, but only with 3 lines. And this is a close-up if you couldn't really see what I was doing. Now just cut open all the lines. You want to get a tweezer and just rip out all the blue threads that are between the white threads. And just do this for each row. P.S. This also takes like a long time, but it is really easy. Okay, so this is like 15 minutes later, and I have about that much done. So, keep on trucking. So like 30 minutes later, and I'm finally done with this knee. Next, these are so nice. Oh my gosh, they look so good. Okay, my only problem is they're like a little bit high, because like whenever I do this, it's like above my knee. I don't know if that's how they're supposed to be, because I've never owned ripped jeans before, but I think they look really cool. Also, I haven't thrown these in the dryer yet, so they're not as fully, you know, everybody on YouTube says that they become way more like worn looking when you put them in the dryer. So I haven't done that yet, so they'll look even better than this. And last but not least, we have, are you ready for it? Overalls. Yes, I made a pair of overalls. I needed them for a costume for a play, and they actually turned out really good. Definitely very difficult to do, like the most difficult out of all 3 of these, but they did turn out really good. And I already owned these jeans. They're just old Tommy Hilfiger jeans that I thrifted like a year ago. And I never wore them because I didn't really like how they looked. They're really baggy and not a fan. So it was a good way to give them another life. So for this, you just need an old pair of jeans and another pair of jeans that are a similar color. You could also maybe go to the craft store and find denim fabric that's a similar color. Whatever floats your boat. Okay, so first we want to make the top part. So I'm making a stencil with these 4 pieces of paper, and I want to cut something that looks like this. After I got the shape I was wanting, I took my look-alike jeans and cut the shape from them, leaving one of the legs of the pants to use as the straps. Also, make sure to leave about ½ an inch around the pattern for sewing. Also, we're going to be making 2 of these trapezoid-looking top pieces because we're going to be sewing them together. Then I took my trapezoid-looking shapes and put them good sides together. Then I just sewed them together using a basic chain stitch, leaving about 3 to 5 inches on the side unstitched. After that, turn it inside out and make sure you get every corner turned out. You don't want to miss any, because you can't go back and fix it. Then pin down the opening and sew a chain stitch all around the border, leaving about ½ an inch, I guess, around. This is what it should look like. It's pocket time. I actually used the butt pockets. I just seam ripped them off and then sewed them together and then sewed that onto the trapezoid looking thing. Top part. Now it's time to make the straps. This was low-key difficult, so you could maybe make them out of like ribbon. I feel like it would still look good, so yeah. But to make the straps, I took the leg of the jeans that we didn't cut off and cut strips about 1.5 to 2 inches, and as long as I could. Because the jeans weren't long enough, I had to cut another strip and sew half of that strip to each of the other strips, if that makes sense. We're going to make the straps in a similar way to how we made the top piece, so I sewed along the side of the straps, good sides together, folded it, and then I folded down the open side, sewed a chain stitch all along the side of it, leaving about 1/4 of an inch, and then I just left another 1/4 of an inch on the other side and did a basic chain stitch. This is what it should look like. On the edges, I just threw on a little fray check, which is amazing. I highly recommend fray check. Then I put it through the overall pieces, which I got at Hobby Lobby. After it was through, I just sewed it, which is definitely not the right way to do it. I feel like, yeah, it worked, I guess, so yeah. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take some sandpaper and de-stress the edges of the top piece, like that little space that we left. I'm going to distress it so that it looks more worn and like it's supposed to be like that, you know? Then I tried attaching the top piece to the bottoms using buttons, but I actually hated this and changed it, which you will see later. But to do it, I just put them on, marked it, then I used these buttons. When using these, make sure you stab the back piece through it fully, then put on the top piece and hammer it. I also recommend using a strong hammer, not the one like I used. That one was weak. Okay, now that I have the buttons on, I marked the bottom of the top piece and cut little slits with the seam ripper for the buttons to go through. You also want to cover these slits or else they will become frayed. A professional buttonhole would usually be stitched, but I don't know how to do that, so I just used some fray check and it worked fine. Now back at the mirror, I'm going to mark where I want the straps to be, then hammer in the buttons. Then to connect the straps to the back, you can either sew it, or what I did is I used another fastener set. I just punctured the buttons in the back, and then I went to the mirror and I turned the straps around so that the back side would be in the front, and I could easily adjust them to fit me properly. Once I had them to the size I wanted, I just did a basic chain stitch like what I did for the front side. It was then that I realized that I hated the buttons, so I just ripped them off and then sewed the top part onto the bottom with a basic chain stitch. Also, I sewed it on this old sewing machine, and it looks so aesthetically pleasing. How do I look? Okay, so little backstory. So, I needed a pair of overalls for a costume. Yeah. And I had this old pair of Tommy Hilfiger jeans that I thrifted like a year ago, and I never wore them because, well, they looked like this. So they weren't very attractive. So I decided to turn them into overalls because I needed overalls. This one was so time consuming, stressful, and I will never do it again. But they look pretty good, honestly. The fact that I did this from scratch, I am impressed with myself. I didn't think I could do it. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This took me like a month to make, so subscribe. I literally, like, you will notice in the video, my shirt changes like 10 times, and that's because I filmed it over like 10 days, so, Please like and subscribe and join my little tiny community. Okay, bye.